This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. Welcome, listeners. This podcast is safe for first-time readers because it's made by me, a first-time reader. I'm your host, Danny, and I'm the one who's taken on the task of reading through this 15-book mega-series. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey. Before we get into our episode today, we want to thank and welcome a new patron to the Wheel Weaves Patreon team. Scott Terrio has made a generous contribution, and we are excited to be able to recognize him today. We also want to thank all of our listeners from around the world, and we have a couple new countries to recognize. South Africa, Switzerland, Rwanda, Argentina, and Finland are all listening in. Hey guys, and hey to everyone else from everywhere else around the world. Thanks so much. So this episode we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, A Place of Safety.
Yeah, this chapter had a lot of really fun tidbits of information.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff sort of happened in it.
Yeah.
It was difficult for me to write notes on it, though, I felt, without just copying word for word the conversation.
Yeah.
Because it was just them sitting in a room, chatting.
They don't leave at all, so it's
No.
like one very central location.
It is, yeah. But yeah, we got some good information for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I assume you have prepared a fun fact?
I did prepare a fun fact.
Awesome.
And the good one about this is it's short and sweet.
Perfect.
So it's really fun and it's really short.
Cool.
So, the fact for today, we so far have had one perspective, because a couple chapters ago you'd asked me like, hey, do we switch perspective every chapter?
Yes, because I had heard that perspective does switch at some point.
Yeah, so you asked like, is it every single chapter that it switches? But no, right? So so far we've only seen Rand's first person perspective, but just to
not first person, because technically this style of writing is third person limited, because it's actually it's not from Rand's exact point of view, because it's not I thought, I did, I ran, or whatever. It's Rand did this, but it's limited because it's only from the perspective of Rand. Yeah. So it's almost like the narrator sitting on Rand's shoulder. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Point of view.
Yeah, point of view, and it's how Harry Potter was written. Yeah. It's from Harry Potter's point of view, but it's Harry said, not I said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's third person limited.
Okay. So fun fact: so far we've had one point of view.
Yep.
And in the entire series, there are 147 unique points of view that we're going to see.
Whoa.
Yeah. So not just Rand, 146 other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he better get going.
He
better get started.
We have a little bit of, time to make up for it here, so.
Okay. Yeah. That is an interesting fact. And that's interesting, too, because I've seen people on social media doing, like, polls about who's your favorite character and stuff, but there's, like, 4 options. Yeah. And I was like, I know there's, like, thousands of characters here, so I guess there's, like, top favorites.
Yeah, honestly, the big reason why I love this series is because the point of views that you get to see from different characters gives the story a whole different angle, right? Because you're inside the mind of
that's
the
why
person.
I enjoyed the Game of Thrones books. Yeah. So it is nice. It's fun. Sometimes a bit annoying because you want to find out what happened in that storyline, but you have to wait, you know. And I figure that that's going to happen here.
It will happen at a few points, so.
But that's okay. We'll push through it together.
Yes.
Okay, so A Place of Safety.
Yeah.
So I predicted that they were going to probably have to leave.
You did, like go on an adventure.
Yeah, no. But when I saw the chapter title, I said, oh, they might have to go somewhere. Like, maybe it's not safe for them here. Yeah. And I didn't really know what I meant or what I was talking about, but I'm going to put that in the win column. Okay. Yeah, because they do. They have to leave.
Yeah. Like we said, it's going to be a boring book series if they stay in Emmons Field the entire...
Yeah, that's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So, there's a new picture.
Yeah, new picture. It's, what do you think it is?
Okay, it's a staff.
Okay, yeah.
Or a stick. Good. And it could be Nynaeve's.
Okay.
You know, the one that she hits people with?
Yeah.
Because that's like the main stick we've really heard of.
The Whomping stick?
The Whomping stick, but I think it's most likely representative of Moiraine's. Yeah. Because she had it in her lap when we last saw her.
I did a little comparison to the front cover artwork to see if it like matched up. Yeah. Because we've talked about that a few times. Yeah. And it's hard to say exactly.
But the pictures have been representations and not like actual.
Yeah. I think it's safe to assume, since Moiraine is like the main person in this chapter, that it's her staff.
Right. Yes. Okay. That's good. So where we last left our hero Rand, he was walking with Moiraine and Lan, headed back to the inn to try to save Tam.
Mm-hmm.
We also just found out, like, officially, that Moraine is an Aes Sedai. And so Rand is actually being quite wary of her.
Yeah, definitely those storybook ideas of what an Aes Sedai is still rubbing off on him.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so they enter the inn, and they see Tam, but he's barely hanging on. Gasping for breath, Tom Marilyn, the Gleeman, and Brand Alvier, the mayor, are still in the room. They're with Tam. But as they enter, Tom makes up some excuse and leaves and hurries out of the room.
Yeah, he bails fast, and we already know that he's, like, wary of Aes Sedai, right? They had that really weird interaction.
And maybe not just Aes Sedai, maybe her specifically.
Yes. There's the whole, like,
right, because they had a weird interaction
super weird
yesterday, right? Like, it seems so weird that this is only, like, in the span of 24 hours.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, I can't even smoke in here. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Someone's going to steal my coat to keep the cow warm. That's his excuse.
It's like slights
I
against...
better go get my coat. So then Wolfman Lan stares after him and says, I do not like that man, and I don't trust him. I didn't see him at all last night. And last night was the Trolloc invasion.
Yes. Yeah. It's literally just morning time right now. No one's really slept, so...
Yeah, and then Bran surprisingly stands up for the Gleeman here and says, well, he must have been there. He singed his cloak, and he didn't burn it on the fireplace. But, like, yeah, I think he might have.
He might have, because, like, Bran didn't actually see him fighting. He's just assuming
that.
Yeah,
and no one really saw him anywhere, and his cloak is, like, burned, but obviously...
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask you. So Lan clearly doesn't like Tom and is not trustful of him. He's like super against him. Do you think that Tom like actually fought, or do you think that he
Lan
hid? Or...
likes anyone, and I don't think he's trustful of anyone.
Who's not Moraine?
Who's not Moraine?
Yeah,
like he is the protector man.
Yeah.
So
his job is to like be
wary of everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what do you think Tom did? Fought.
I think that he burned his coat on the fireplace.
He was still...
Yeah.
He just hung out.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that obviously he probably did something,
but saved his own butt. Like,
oh, for sure. I don't know.
Go out of the way to save the children or something.
Well, not if no one saw him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And strikes me as the kind of guy who would want people to... He'd want people to see him fighting gallantly.
Like if he was going to fight gallantly, he'd want the
recognition for it. He wouldn't be like hiding off, running, trying to save someone with no one noticing.
Yeah, that makes okay.
So I think that he probably just hid, but not as bad as the peddler.
We literally have no idea what happened to him.
I know. I just have this picture in my mind of him just like taken off. So
just like booking it out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That guy's also terrible. And in the graphic novel I have, he's just the worst. He's the ugliest guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's a bad, like, evil, greasy man in that. So I just have a thing about the peddler guy. But anyway, so they're all just sort of talking about it. I said, well, he probably did burn it on the fireplace. But Rand pipes up with, hey, guys, my father.
Yeah, dying over here.
Hello, pay attention. So he doesn't lose sight of the task at hand. He's very adamant that his father needs help. So Moraine kicks the mayor out, saying that he will only get in her way, and Rand asks to stay, and she says, yeah, sure, whatever. Just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
So she tells Rand and Lan, which is difficult to say.
Rand and Lan.
Rand and Lan. R&L,
yeah.
like my notes say, just sit over there. She says they are allowed to talk, but only quietly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're about to have some deep conversation right now?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, they are, but at the time I thought, what do they have to talk about? So Rand is watching her, and she seems to be examining Tam with her eyes and looking almost like beyond him.
Yeah, I put down a couple looks into the magic system here, because we get like a whole bunch of little hints at how magic works.
Yes. So the mayor leaves, and Rand starts to feel really uncomfortable, because in the stories, the one power is a great wonder, and now he's finding himself in the same room as it. He said it would be, bad to even be in the same village as it, never mind, like, sitting right next to this. But he's surprised to see that she's just sitting there with her eyes closed.
Like she could be asleep, he says.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, because, like, in his stories, obviously, like, thunderclaps and, the bells and whistles to
and
make
the lightning.
magic.
But apparently that happened last night.
Yeah, like the lightning obviously probably makes noise, right? But it's like, what does it actually look like to, conjure or whatever it might be?
Right.
Conjure lightning, so. But I also wanted to make a quick note here. Maureen tossed her cloak and staff on the chair.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a throwback when I think of magic systems. I always think of like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. He has his staff.
Yeah.
Which is like a source of, or like a tool for his power.
Oh, I just thought Gandalf was old and needed it to walk.
Well, he like uses his staff, right?
No,
so,
I know.
So, but like in this system, like clearly she doesn't need the staff. If some people might think, oh,
well, not for this healing magic.
Exactly.
If she, and to be fair, the picture is of the staff.
Yeah.
So, I'm not reading much into these pictures because I've been thrown off before.
Yeah, I've been fooled.
But
yeah. there's no wand. The staff, it's like literally she rolls up her sleeves and she's like...
Yes, kind of like the Force.
Yeah, from her hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Lan speaks to Rand and it makes him jump because he's not expecting to be talked to right now.
Yeah.
And he says, "That's a fine weapon you wear. Is there a heron on the blade?"
Yeah, so he knows what he's looking for.
Yeah, so Lan knows of this make of swords, and he says that he's surprised to see the heron marked sword in a place like this.
Yeah, so he sees the heron on the sheath, and he's like confirming that there's also on the blade.
Yes, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's like you need both for it to be...
A heron marked sword.
Like not just a coincidence, basically.
Right, like it's like, oh, you picked up this sheath somewhere, but it's like the sword. I think that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. We already know this is a pretty special sword.
Yeah,
like it didn't dull.
Doesn't dull, right? So there's like something behind it.
Yeah.
Tam pulls it out of a old wooden box under his bed. So
yeah. So Rand says it's my father's, and during this conversation, Rand notes here that Tam's breathing starts to sound easier.
Yeah.
And I don't know at this point if Rand is just trying to make himself feel better.
Yeah, like hoping that he's hearing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure yet at this point.
I can kind of picture like Maureen just hovering over Tam's body with her hands out, right? But I put in my notes here, Rand rarely knows what anyone's ever talking about.
Yeah.
Because he's like always taken aback by what people are saying.
It's like, wait, what?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we talking about this sword?
Yeah, so Lan notes that this is a strange thing for a sheep herder to buy. Mm-hmm. And Rand says, yeah, it's useless, and Tam never used it. And Lan is super skeptical about this. He kind of scoffs and says, yeah, the heron-marked sword is a symbol of a master swordsman. And I don't think Tam bought this from a master swordsman.
Yeah.
I have to say...
He's like super offhand. That it'd have to take a weird route to get to the two rivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely now. I'm more along the lines of saying that Tam is the master swordsman.
So Tam, we know, probably left the two rivers at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
is not from
two rivers.
Yeah. Picked up a sword somewhere.
Yes. And not just...
coppers.
Yeah. No. It was not like a mantelpiece sword.
Yeah. And then he killed a bunch of Trollocs with it.
Yeah.
So do you think like Tam is actually the master swordsman, or is it just like he's a good swordsman and picked up the nice
he's
sword?
The master swordsman.
Yeah.
I don't think this tidbit's in here for like shits and giggles. I think that's a little plug there for us. I don't think it's a red heron. I think that it's like a red heron. And it's
isn't it a red herring?
Oh yeah.
It's not a red heron. Well, it could be in this case. It's
a red heron in this case. That's why I said that. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the saying. A red herring. Oh man. So Rand says that Lan and Moraine were very helpful last night and decides to ask Lan if it would have been helpful for them to know in advance about the cloaked rider.
Yeah, clearly Rand's kind of feeling like shit now, thinking, oh, could I have done something to prevent this?
Could I have stopped this? Yeah. I kept this to myself thinking no one would believe me, but like clearly this was a problem.
Yeah. The spooky ghost rider.
Yeah. And so he asks if they could have stopped it if they knew. And Moraine is clearly listening here and says, not without a dozen of my sisters.
Yeah. So they, like Moraine and Lan tend to do that whole good cop, bad cop thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like Moraine's like, it's not your fault. And Lan's like, well, you should have told us.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. But I actually note here, so she says not without a dozen of my sisters.
Yeah.
So the other Aes Sedai are all sisters?
Yeah, it's like a sisterhood.
Okay, because in the prologue, you're smiling at me.
I was smiling because I was hoping you'd connect those dots.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
It's...
Okay,
we got a lot of information in the prologue, so...
Yes.
And they didn't capitalize sisters here, so it wasn't like...
Oh, I haven't even noticed capitalizations or anything. But clearly she doesn't mean her, like, blood... sisters here. So, although maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like a whole thing, but...
I think you're better on the first track.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's not just
I'm
like
trying to explore every option. But
It's a
yeah,
gigantic
so
family.
Luce Theron talked about brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and
in the
Aelon
prologue.
said, unfortunate that you didn't have a sister here to help you.
To help you heal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. From the taint.
Yeah,
And
to sister
Tam
to heal you.
has the taint, and she's a sister who can heal him.
Yeah, well, Tam's sort of tainted from the sword.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's the same
She
kind
said,
of
no,
taint.
no. But
Okay.
it's still called a taint.
Yeah.
It's like the certain type of
like evil.
wound, a
Yeah.
super magical wound that
Yeah.
the Aes Sedai can heal.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's cool. So, Moraine says, if I knew when I left Tarvalon that I would find Trollocs and a Madral here, I would have dragged them here if I had to.
Yeah, scruff of the neck.
Yeah. So, but by herself, a warning really wouldn't have made a difference here. And so here's the confirmation that the writer is the Madral guy.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Murdral. Yeah.
Okay. And so the Fade, Shadow Man, whatever. But Rand just kind of ignores this. Like, she literally says, like, this is what he is, and he just goes on. Lan is a little bit less understanding, though.
Mm-hmm.
Scolds Rand for not telling them and asks about where and when he saw this guy. So Rand, I guess, doesn't quite hear her and is distracted or something. But she straight up says the Madral was here.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't say anything about that. So
It's kind of like Moraine takes the blame for herself, too, because she is sort of playing good cop, where she's trying not to make Rand feel bad, but then she does say that it's also my fault because of the way the Raven was acting yesterday.
yeah.
I should have caught on to that, because that was when the Raven sidestepped the rocks that
Yeah,
Matt and
right.
Rand, threw at them.
Yeah.
Right?
So Moraine sort of speaks before Rand can even say anything. Yeah, and she says she should have known.
Yeah.
The Dark One's touch has spread so heavily and so far, and she's like surprised by that.
Yeah, and she's kind of all into the whole cryptic conversations,
Yeah.
right? For her to say, I was overconfident to the point of arrogance, right?
Yeah.
So
She's quite humble in this anyway.
Yeah.
So I've written this quite a few times today, or for this chapter, but Rand is confused.
Rand's always confused.
Yeah. Rand is confused, so Lan explains that ravens and crows and sometimes rats are spies for the Dark One because they feed on death.
Yeah, and that's a typical fantasy thing you see lots of the time.
Yeah, like
It's like
bad
the
omens.
Bad omens, yeah. So in this series...
So Rand's like, holy shit, there are ravens and crows everywhere. How could the Dark One be here?
Yeah. Now, he's not saying every raven and every crow and every rat is like, a spy, but you just don't know which ones.
So Rand is firmly on the belief that if you live a good life and you don't name the Dark One and you do everything like you're supposed to do, you're just supposed to be good.
Yeah, this is kind of like the dogma we've seen previously about, the Dark One being sealed with the Forsaken and Shale Ghul at the moment of creation.
Yeah.
Right? Their whole thing is that if you live a good life, you don't say his name, Dark One can't touch you. So
Right.
that's what he's been, force-fed.
Right, but everything that they're telling him right now,
It's
that's not true.
Not how it works.
No.
So
now, Tam actually really seems to be doing better. Rand is excited and says, "You've done it!" And she says, "No, not yet. Trolloc weapons are made at the forges in the valley of Thakendar on the very slopes of Shale Ghul."
And we've seen reference to Shale Ghul a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's on the map as well.
And that's where the Dark One's supposed to be bound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, yeah, hypothetically.
Okay, so they take the taint from that place and make wounds that will not heal unaided by magic. So this is another thing I was right about.
You were right, yeah.
I'm going to toot my own little horn here because...
Magic-y system.
Yeah, not magic-y system, magic weapons.
Yeah.
That cause obvious... That one was a pretty obvious one. His teeny tiny cut
Yeah.
is like causing him to die.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Thakendar is such an evil place that the taint of the evilness of like Shale Ghul and Thakendar, seep into the weapons.
Gotcha.
So it's not like someone casts a spell and makes the weapon, more powerful or anything. It's just like the evil seeps in, which
Yeah.
is interesting that that's a thing that can happen is evil seeping through into objects in this series.
Gotcha. I'll keep that in my brain. So she has soothed the pain, but the taint remains and it can grow again. So she says she can help further. Rand is pretty insistent here, like, but you have to help him. You're going to help him, right? You're not going to let it grow?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah. Sit down, kid. right? So she has to use an angriel.
And we got an introduction to that already.
In the last chapter when she had to use the angriel to help with the Trolloc invasion.
Yeah, and Lan kind of like says it offhandedly, like she had to use her angriel to fight them all off,
exactly.
so she's tired.
Yeah, but we actually get a little bit of a description here.
Yeah.
So it's a relic from the Age of Legends, and it's used to perform great wonders.
Yeah, so it like powers you up.
Yeah.
It allows you to channel more than you otherwise could.
Yeah, and so it's actually just a small ivory figurine, but it's aged dark into a deep brown.
Yeah, so it's been around for like literally over 3,000 years.
Yes. Okay, so they have lost the making of these, and she actually had to get permission to take it out of Tarvalon. Tarvalon, how do I say it?
I've heard it both ways, Tarvalon and Tarvalon.
It's probably just based on accents.
Accent, yeah.
Yeah.
Our Canadian accent, say it how you want.
Yeah, right. so
and
there's...
then say sorry after.
Right.
It's Tarvalon, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Brett. So I find it interesting that there's actually a hierarchy in the Aes Sedai.
I put stars all around this because I'm going to give you some facts in a second.
Okay, cool. You're going to do glossary fact time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's quite interesting that there is a hierarchy and a system of power that she had to like ask someone, a higher up, to get permission to take something.
Yeah, a lot of the times, especially like in some books, you think, oh, this wizard or this witch or something is the top of the... Like, clearly Moiraine is not on the top of the food chain.
Yes.
Right? So she has to get permission to even take an object of power from Tarvalon. So, do you want me to go into the glossary definitions?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Time for your glossary segment with Brett.
There we go. Need the sound effect still.
Okay, I'll add a sound effect in right here. It's time for glossary definitions with Brett.
So, with the Amerlin seat, that's the first definition that we're going to look at here. So, she says, I had to get permission from the Amerlin seat. She almost didn't allow me. So, the Amerlin seat is both a title and the name of a throne. So, in Tarvalon, the Amerlin seat is the leader of the Aes Sedai.
Okay.
So, she's like top dog number one.
Queen Aes Sedai.
Queen of the Aes Sedai, and it's also the Amerlin seat is literally the name of the throne that she sits upon. Yeah, so it's like title and actual throne.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, the second thing about how the Amerlin seat is, chosen, it's actually she's elected by other Aes Sedai. So she's elected, and theoretically, she has almost supreme authority, and this is just based on what the glossary says.
Okay.
So it's like in theory she has ultimate say, but it's also politics, so assuming she doesn't have complete say. Yeah. But then the one last thing I kind of want to tie here is we actually saw, because you already talked about the prologue, so I'm going to bring it up now. We saw in the prologue when Aelon was talking to Luz Theron, he said, once you stood first among the servants with a capital S, and you wore the ring of Tamerlane.
Oh, okay. So
we
is that
haven't-
the Infinity Snake ring?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
So in the prologue, we literally heard Aelon say to Luz Theron, once you wore the ring of Tamerlane. So the ring of Tamerlane, and then we now know there's an Amerlin seat. So Amerlin, Tamerlane, very similar words. We know Aes Sedai now are all women, and we know that Luz Theron's a man.
Okay, and we knew there used to be a balanced force.
Yeah, balanced force, men and women.
But now
so
there's not.
it's not too far of a stretch to assume that a Tamerlane was the male leader.
Gotcha.
Which was why he stood first among the servants.
Okay.
So you can also extrapolate and think, are Aes Sedai servants with a capital S?
Well, like servants of who?
Exactly. That's the question. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, just want to tie that little tidbit
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
So,
Now there's some stuff.
something to think about. So.
All right, so we go back to here where Moiraine is using the Angriel to help Tam, but she's unsure if it will help because the taint of Tam's wound is strong and it has had time to fester. And Rand's sort of like, but I got him here as fast as I can.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I got him here as fast as I could. I did everything I could. Just, you gotta help him. I got him here. I walked through the whole night.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Like, Rand literally did everything he could to save Tam.
Yeah.
He did everything. And when he got shut down by Nynaeve, like, that was hard. And then, yeah. So he's been through a little bit.
Right. So she works on Tam more, and then Lan goes back to talking to Rand.
Yeah.
And says that the Black Rider was surely a Madral. And Rand is all shocked. But, like, he just heard her say that that's what it was.
Clearly he didn't actually hear her say it, though.
Yeah.
He's, like, in his own world.
That's the difference between hearing and listening.
Yeah.
Rand.
And then he goes like but they're 20 feet tall, I thought.
Yeah. Okay.
No, man.
Yeah.
Those
So
are
Lan
stories.
says, yes, those are stories, but the truth about these guys is they're just as bad. They have a lot of nicknames. So Half-Man, Lurk, Fade, Shadow Man. It all depends on the region where they're from, but they're all Madral.
Yeah, so it just depends on what people call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the information we get about the Fade here.
Super exciting.
Yeah, I even have like a little star and your name next to this because I figure that you're just going to talk about it.
Yes,
But, so,
I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm totally not ready for this.
Yeah, no, I bet. So I have here that the Trolloc spawn, which is almost human-like stock of the Dreadlords used to make the Trollocs.
Yes.
So they have unique powers, the sort that stem from the Dark One.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So when you read this, so the way it technically works, because we get a few words, Fades, Trollocs, Dreadlords. So Dreadlords were the men and women who can use the one power who turn to the shadow. Yeah, so
Dark side. They're the Siths.
Exactly, they're the Sith. So they're like the evil channels.
Jedi.
Yeah. Now this, the Jedi. Yeah.
The evil Jedi.
Evil Jedi. Okay, so the Dreadlords created the Trollocs.
Yes. Okay.
The Dreadlords created the Trollocs from human stock, literally from people.
Yeah. So it's like they took people and performed Frankenstein
Exactly,
type
and created Trollocs.
stuff on them.
So
Okay.
Trollocs are actually like people.
Yes.
And then Fades, or Murdral, or Shadowmen, or Lurks, or whatever you want to call them, are like the offshoots, like the messed up versions of Trollocs.
Oh.
So a small percentage of Trollocs that are, created
Yeah.
are turned into Murdral instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of terrifying to think that, evil evil channelers used humans to create Trollocs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, changes your perspective a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So we learn here that Aes Sedai can take a Fade 1 against 1.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time. But men fall to them.
Yes. So they're assumingly you can kill them with magic pretty simply, because only the weakest Aes Sedai, which is also interesting because that's more into the magic system, meaning that Aes Sedai are not all created equally.
No, and I wouldn't assume that they are.
Yeah, some are such terrible or weak
Yeah.
that they can't defeat them. But then, so Murdral probably are good with weapons.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right, it's not a magic
because
versus
in the
magic.
Trolloc Wars, Fades led Trollocs into battle, and I think that's actually quite similar to what happened here last night.
Yeah, we had
had one Murdral
Yeah.
leading Trollocs for a mission or into some battle.
Yeah, so it kind of makes sense there.
Okay, but that was the Trolloc Wars, and we know that was 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, it was somewhere within that span of the breaking and now times.
Right, so that was quite a while ago, so we haven't seen anything like that in a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's terrifying.
Yeah.
So Rand says that he was scared of the Fade and is kind of ashamed of himself, but Lan says, no man, they're really fucking scary.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because Lan admits that, hey man, I'm also afraid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
like Lan, big scary
even
wolf man.
soldiers
Yeah.
freeze. And there's a saying in the Borderlands along the Great Blight, the look of the eyeless is fear.
Yeah, and then Rand does his whole eyeless, right? Still confused.
Still confused. Like, get it
Yeah.
together.
So Murdral, we learn, don't actually have eyes, but they can see like eagles in the light or the dark.
Yeah, so
kind of spooky.
yeah, I wonder if they're more like bats and they're using like echolocation.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Like, how do you see without eyes?
Magic, right? But Murdral clearly are like have a magical presence here. So, but yeah. So also you could probably assume the funny thing about the whole Lan okay with being afraid of Murdral.
Yeah.
Like fear is an interesting thing because everyone has it. It's just what do you do with it?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So Lan might be afraid, but
yeah, I find this interesting that we find out that they don't have eyes, and I'm wondering why in the Westwood, I think in chapter 6, we found out when the Madro was on the quarry road and turned and looked directly at Rand, but then kept going. Mm-hmm. So like at the time, we're supposed to assume that he just like didn't see him and kept going. But if he can see in the dark or the light because of magic. Mm-hmm. How did he miss him?
Exactly. Well, yeah. Like, and to be fair, Rand was like in the trees, so maybe they can see well, but you still can't see through trees, right? Or what? What are you thinking?
I don't know.
You seem skeptical.
No, I am skeptical of that thing you just said.
Okay.
But if they were looking for him, why would they just let him go so easy?
Yeah.
Like, that's the question. It's like there has to be.
Well, that comes down to the how do they see?
Yeah.
Right. So.
How do they
whole
see?
lot of unanswered
What
questions.
do they see?
What do they see? Sure, they can see well, but how does that translate, right? So.
Okay, and then if he did see them and let him go, why?
Yeah.
That's just like my ... list.
Why? It's kind of the same thing as the Narg talking about the Murdral wanted to talk with him.
Yes.
So we really don't have answers. So before we move on, I wanted to point out one really important thing too.
Okay.
Because we were kind of talking about the whole, scripture or dogma or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it.
What's that word you keep saying?
Dogma?
Yeah.
Dogma is like what your spiritual belief is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I just had never heard that before.
Okay, nothing to do with dogs. Yes. so like scripture is the actual writing.
Yeah.
So like the Bible is scripture.
Got it.
Dogma is like the beliefs, more or less.
Okay.
Hope I'm defining that okay, but
yeah, no, that's just not something I heard. So
yeah. So Lan points out that since the wars that ended the Age of Legends, and since the Forsaken were bound. Mm-hmm. So he uses those really, interesting words. So he's referring to the Forsaken being bound during the wars at the Age of Legends, but previously, when Rand was reciting his scripture, like we talked about, Rand said that the Creator bound Dark One and the Forsaken at the moment of creation.
Right.
So in his philosophy, the Dark One and the Forsaken are all one and were bound at the moment of creation. Lan saying, no, they were bound literally during the war.
During the wars.
Yeah, during the wars.
Okay.
Again, theory versus reality. So.
Well, yeah, theory versus more theory.
Theory versus Lan's theory.
Yeah, that's really what this is.
Yeah.
They weren't around 3,000 years ago. They don't actually know. And I mean, probably Lan and the Aes Sedai have a little bit more reliable sources. Information. But to be fair, right now it's theory versus theory.
Theory versus slightly better theory, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's...
Asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll just have to find out.
Yeah. Read and find out.
So Moraine and Lan tried to kill the one that was there last night, but failed. And he says an interesting saying here that half men have the Dark One's own luck.
Yeah.
So meaning that what?
That's kind of just like a saying, like the devil's luck, like the whole Snake Eyes thing, like the devil's luck and all that. So
anyway, similar. Yeah. So Rand says the Trolloc said the Murdral wanted to talk to me. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And Lan's like, what? What the heck? You've talked to a Trolloc?
So it's interesting that Lan is totally surprised.
He's like, what the hell?
Like taken off guard by this too.
Yeah. And then Ron starts to stammer through the story of like what happened, and then says he killed it by accident. Mm-hmm. And Lan and Moraine are really nice to him, and they're like, oh, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, well, clearly not something that happens.
Yeah, often, most people south of the borderlands can't even say they've seen a Trolloc, let alone killed one. Yeah.
And just for
except
reference...
for, like, Elsbeth. What's her name? Luhan?
Elsbeth Luhan. She takes him down with a frying pan.
Yeah, she killed it, and she did that on purpose.
Yeah, so just for reference point, Borderlands are the countries right below the Blight.
Yes.
So clearly they have Trolloc rates.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the further south you go, the more uncommon it becomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. So then Moraine states that she's finished with Tam, saying it's done, but she's very weary and very tired, and so Lan leaps up to help her, which is so cute. He's always there for her. Mm-hmm. And Rand leaps up to his dad.
Yeah.
So Tam is now cool to the touch, and his breathing is way better, and Moraine says he will be all right with rest.
Yeah.
So great news, Tam's gonna live, hooray!
Yeah, and also cool, besides Tam living, because that's always really important for me.
Yeah, Tam!
I did know that he was gonna be okay.
Yeah, so. I had a feeling too, but you just never know with these things.
It's true, yeah. And like we said, it's not necessarily.
Well, it would have been really good for a character arc and for like a plot twist for Rand if his father passed away after hearing that he's most likely adopted
and never getting to have that conversation.
Yeah, I thought that would be a really actually quite interesting character arc for him.
Cool.
Yeah, but as a character, he's kind of flat right now, and to have some tragedy like that would give him some kind of like interest and something to like fight for and something to look for.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of thought this might go.
Okay. I am not okay with killing Tam.
No, me neither. I'm not okay with that. I love Tam. He's like a rockin' cool dude and he's like the best dad, but I'm just saying.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like you're trying to kill Tam right now.
Yeah, for the storyline. Sometimes people you don't want to die have to die for the storyline.
Oh my god. Okay.
But I'm glad he's alive now, and clearly the story's going to go in a completely different direction, so that's cool.
Yeah. So, funny part, again, because like I said at the beginning, I like this chapter because we do get a lot of insight into the magic system.
Yep.
The other last little tidbit here that I want to point out is that with our magic system, so healing is not like an insta-cure, like everything's better, we're all fine.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like a snap my fingers and boom, he's healed, he's all fine, and Tam's up and about.
Yeah.
So it's like when she uses her powers, she gets really tired from using the one power, and then Tam still is going to need literally weeks of bed rest to be, back
fully
to one.
healed.
Yeah, fully healed. Right? So it's not an infallible,
boom, he's
it's not just
healed.
like a plot device that,
he's jumped out of bed like the guy from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the grandpa.
Oh yeah, as soon as he gets the ticket,
he's like bedridden forever, like his family's like living in poverty, and then they get a golden ticket to go to a chocolate factory.
He's like, I'm okay.
And he's like, I'm okay, and he jumps up out of bed, no problem.
It's like, hey grandpa, go get a job.
Yeah.
Living in poverty here. Come on.
Oh my god. Yeah, so it's not like that, we're saying.
It's not like that, yeah.
So Moraine seems to keep talking, kind of to no one here.
Again, she does this a fair amount.
She sort of stares off, saying that in the Age of Legends, Aes Sedai were stronger and more powerful, and there were a lot more of them too. So good thing Tam is such a strong man. It is his strength here that kept him alive and why she could save him.
Yeah.
But the taint is gone and he just needs rest. Hooray!
Hooray, Tam's better.
Yay, yay,
And again,
yay.
coming back to that whole magic system, gonna just beat us over the head with this here.
Yeah.
So Age of Legends, Aes Sedai were better, more powerful, they could heal better.
Yeah, almost legendary.
Almost legendary.
If you will.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. But also they've lost a lot of information over the last, and she talks about how talents are lost. So what we can assume is that just with the breaking of the world, I kind of think of it like the Dark Ages for us, when things were like ancient Rome.
Yeah, a lot of stuff was lost.
So much.
Libraries burned down.
Yeah.
We lost so much stuff.
Yeah, like literally the Dark Ages is not because there was no electricity. It's because things went to shit.
Complete shit.
For hundreds of years.
Yes.
Right? So kind of what we see happen here.
Yeah. So Rand says that he will repay her any way he can. And she goes, yes, yes, yes. We'll talk of that later when we leave together.
I put... Because Rand's like, I'll pay anything as long as it doesn't hurt my village or my friends.
Okay, that's where he draws the line.
Yeah, I literally wrote down, okay, Rand.
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
buddy.
draw the line there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So she clearly doesn't really even care about this whole price thing, or she seems to be...
Seems not to care, but at this
care.
point, Rand just goes like, what? Leave? What? Why?
Yeah.
No, it's not too bad here. We can rebuild. And then he just goes rambling about the Copland guy. And
Coplans are spreading talk about leaving.
Yeah, we're not leaving. We're going to rebuild. We're Two Rivers folk. You wait and see. And then Lan just cuts him off and says, you talk when you should be listening. And I love this. This made Lan my new favorite character. I've used this with students since I've read this. Since reading this chapter, I have said this to children.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It works.
It shuts them right up. It's so to the point and awesome. And it's like, buddy, I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah.
You need to stop. You're talking when you should be listening.
It's the 2 ears, 1 mouth philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so to the point, and it really works with Rand here, too. It shuts him right up.
Have you picked up that Lan keeps calling him sheep herder?
No.
Every time he talks to him, he says sheep herder.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's like a country bumpkin kind of...
Yeah. It's like, what do you even know, sheep herder?
Yeah.
So he's shut up, and Moraine says, don't worry too much just now, but you must leave for the sake of your village. Like this, I've clearly handled this wrong. I've said this in the wrong way. I'm tired and not being very tactful, and you are so wound up that...
Probably should have done this better, but we also don't have a choice.
So again, say it with me, Rand is very confused.
Once again.
Yeah, and Lan is actually kind of being understanding here. So he explains that the Fade and the Trollocs were looking for certain people, and that's why only some houses were hit.
Yeah.
And this is what you asked me about last
We
episode.
did our little flowchart of which houses were attacked.
Yeah.
And which weren't.
Yeah, and they break it down here for us too. But Rand actually starts protesting here a bit, because this really doesn't make sense to him. He's like, no, it was all random. And they're like, nobody.
Yeah, let me paint you a picture
Yeah,
here.
okay. So it turns out that Beltane and Winter Night saved a lot of lives because the idiot Fade was unsuccessful due to being unaware of the Two Rivers customs.
It's called bad intel.
I was gonna say, this guy was hanging around all day, and he couldn't have been bothered to listen to the people there. Like, no one could shut up.
Yeah.
About this whole Beltane thing the entire days probably, and he didn't do a very good recon work.
No, not really. So
like,
I mean, they kind of
planning his attack, like he could have, like he's been around, he's been showing himself to
at
people.
least for a couple days.
At least for a couple days.
Yeah.
And he wasn't successful because of Beltane Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, bud.
So
Take a look. Take a look around.
But to be fair, okay. Two points. One, maybe he didn't get close enough to overhear conversations because all we know was he was like being seen by.
I'm assuming if
younger
he can
men.
see very well, he can also hear very well.
Okay, maybe. You're assuming.
I'm assuming that he's an idiot.
And second, we're also assuming that he has the same reasoning skills as a normal person.
Right.
We know he's an offshoot of a Trolloc.
Yeah.
Right? Which Trollocs
but
aren't
it's like,
necessarily the
if you're going
smartest.
on a mission
but Narg's the
for
smartest
the Dark
Trolloc.
One
Narg's the smartest Trolloc.
that we've met.
That we've met. Fair. You know, he's pretty smart. He had some pretty good tactics there. Mm-hmm. And Fades are offshoots of Trollocs, so we don't actually know how smart.
I need you to
Murdrell
stop defending this guy.
I mean, you're just like, you're lashing out at the Fade here. He's not even here to defend himself.
None of them are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just my feeling on that. Yeah. Like, that guy was thwarted.
Oh yeah, it was a shitty move.
He was thwarted by Winter Night.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I don't know. I just can't.
He was thwarted because everyone was in town, and he wasn't expecting everyone to be in town, I guess.
Well, because the one farm that got hit, no one was there.
Yeah. And he was also thwarted because he probably wasn't expecting Morin and Lan to be there.
But there was recon work that should have been done. He was basically just riding around invisible, showing himself to some people here and there, which I still don't really understand why or the reasoning behind and stuff. But I feel like he should have done better.
He should have,
and
probably.
In this case, it would have been better for Rand and Tam to just stay at the inn.
Yeah,
the
it
inn
would have been, yeah.
didn't get hit, but their farm did. The other farm got hit, but they were in town.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have had to go through all of this if Tam had just been cool dad and been like, okay, we can stay.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think, yeah. Okay. Let's
graze on past that. Fine, whatever. I know what you want to talk about. You only want to talk about the things that make sense in this book. You don't want to talk about things that don't make sense in this book. I get it.
Okay. They make sense. We're just not far enough along. I will come back. We will come back to this. I was thinking about bonus episodes we can do.
Yeah.
And I already have 2 planned out for the future, for the next in a little while.
Yeah.
But we can do one where we come back and I can tie some knots down for us.
All right.
Like I said, there's a reason for everything. We'll come back
are you
to
just
it.
like holding your tongue because you know you can't
This hurts me so much.
I've actually had some people say they're so surprised at your restraint.
You don't even know.
Yeah, you're right. I don't. I have no idea.
Okay.
I just get to speak freely, have my wine, and just chat about the book I'm reading. And you're the one who has to like show all the restraint.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But anyways, huge side tangent. So these attacks were purposeful.
Yeah, so Lan's pretty much laying down evidence here.
Yeah, so the Ibarra farm and the Cawthon house were attacked.
Yeah.
And Moraine says the Fade was only looking for boys of a certain age. And she lays that down again and said, remember I told you?
Yeah.
You weren't listening. You start doing that thing with your ears again?
Mm-hmm. I mean, she ties all the knots. She came in, she was acting naive about ages and everything.
Yep.
So that makes sense now why she was, asking about certain boys.
Yep. And so Rand is confused again. Mm-hmm. Surprise.
Confused Rand.
Because Ban and Lem's houses weren't attacked, but they saw the rider.
Yeah.
And now I'm with Rand here, and I'm confused too. Like, why did they see him? And like, was the Fade just checking shit out?
Yeah. So literally, the Fade was doing recon.
Bad recon.
Was looking for certain boys of a certain age, and Ban and Lem were close.
Ban and Lem.
And
I
Lem.
used to really like these 3-letter names. Remember back,
After you got to lose their in Telemon?
Yeah, remember when I liked it? Now they're all hard to say together.
Yeah.
Tam, Rand, Lan, Ban, Lem.
Yeah.
Okay. It's great.
Ban and Lem were close, but not close enough. So Rand, Perrin, Matt
they were
are
like
all...
apart by like 10 months this way,
Yeah.
8 months that way or something.
Rand, Perrin, Matt within weeks.
Weeks of each other, and apparently that's what made the difference, and so the Fade, was only looking for those 3 boys.
Yes. So those were the places that got hit specifically. So the farm, Perrin's farm, the forge where Perrin works.
Right.
And Matt's house.
Okay. And I sort of called that one about the forge.
Yes.
Because Perrin had told Luhan about it, I thought maybe it was like anyone who knew about him.
Yeah.
But it turns out that some houses were just hit to create confusion.
Yeah.
That was like the battle tactic.
It wasn't, yeah. And again, that kind of comes down to they're not the best strategists.
Yeah.
They kind of...
I'm going to bust through your door and just like get at you.
Big, scary murder monsters, their tactic is literally being big, scary, and murdering. Right? So
makes sense. Okay, so Rand here wants to know, why are they singled out? Like, these 3 boys, just them, because they're born within weeks of each other. What does he want with us? We're just farmers. Like, who cares how old we are? Who cares? Like, what does he want with us? So Moraine says, there isn't an answer here. But the answer is very important.
Yeah, so it's like either one of the 3 or all 3 of them, there's something important about.
Right, and she always speaks so cryptically.
Mm-hmm.
So Rand tries to argue about how they aren't special, and Land says that he expects to fight Trollocs at the Blight, but not here in the Two Rivers, and that makes you special. So shut your face.
Yeah, it's just the fact that the Dark One is literally going out of the way to get to them. That's kind of the important part. So Moraine and Land don't know, or they're not saying why they're important. Right? Because there's a combination.
Yeah, and I don't even think they know for sure. I don't think Moraine knows for sure. Because she says there's something in one of you or all 3 that the Dark One fears.
Yes. That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
What would the Dark One fear from these 3 boys, or one of them?
Right. And I mean, if you're actually asking me what the Dark One fears, it's probably the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, which makes sense.
I mean, it's not exactly a big secret that it's most likely one of these 3 boys, and most likely our main character.
Yeah, right.
Wild prediction here.
So we've had a couple conversations about this. But the thing that I do like about this series is that the fact that... twists and having twists that, the audience has no idea is coming... doesn't equate to a good storyline. Just because you surprised me, it doesn't make the story a good story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Look at the whole last season of Game of Thrones. No one was happy about that.
Yeah, because they're trying to make all these crazy twists so that we don't know what's coming. But the Wheel of Time, it's pretty obvious about who the main characters are, that they're important, things like that. Yeah, they're going to leave the Two Rivers, obviously. But that's not just because that's going to happen.
But how are they going to get there? What's the storyline? What's going to happen?
What's going to actually happen? How is the story going to evolve? Right. So that's what makes the story so powerful and so great. Is that you might know who the main character is, but you don't know the rest of the details.
Absolutely, I actually agree with that because short of predicting that Rand is most likely the Dragon Reborn,
you know nothing else. You don't even know what that being the Dragon Reborn means.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
No. Are they all going to start to call him Luz?
Who knows? Who knows?
So Rand is just being difficult now. He refuses to believe any of this, and they go on to tell him how big of a deal that this actually is. Just think about how much work it was to get all of these Trollocs all the way down here, seemingly unnoticed.
Yeah.
And they did it for a purpose.
Well, it's kind of like Rand's stubbornness, right? The traditional Two Rivers stubbornness they've talked about coming in. He doesn't buy it. But the fact that the Dark One went out of his way to get all these Trollocs here, like you said.
Looking for these guys.
Yeah, he went through a lot to get here.
Yeah.
So that means something.
Right. And then so Rand realizes that they will be back. So the Trollocs will be back looking for them because they'll realize that they didn't accomplish what they set out for. So they're going to come back. He sort of starts to argue and say, but you said you can fight them and now that you're prepared. And then he has this vision of more battling in Emmonsfield and in the Two Rivers and seeing more destruction and whatever. And he knows then at that point that he'll have to leave basically to save Emmonsfield and the Two Rivers from more destruction.
Yeah, he gets there eventually, right, understanding he has to leave. And Land kind of does the whole, hey, are you willing to bet on the fact, right?
Yep.
He plays that card, so...
Yeah, so Moraine says there's a place of safety which is the chapter title. And I always kind of like those little
Yeah.
things. A place of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Tar Valon.
Yeah. So, like, in Rand's head, he's thinking, I have to go to Baerlon or Camelin. So, Baerlon is, like, right down the road
And
from
those are just, like,
Emmonsfield.
the cities, right?
Yeah, they're like, it's the town and
The
the
hub,
main city of Andor, which is the country that they're in.
Okay.
Which is pretty close to where they are now, but Maureen's thinking, we gotta go all the way to the home base.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so not only is it safe and protected by Aes Sedai and warders, but we'll also get answers there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have the answers of what they're looking for in you here in the Two Rivers, but we'll find the answers in Tar Valon.
Yeah, and we know Tar Valon's the hub for all the Aes Sedai. That's the island that was created by Dragon Mountain and all that stuff.
So Rand says, well, at least let me talk to my father first. He should know. He shouldn't wake up and have me just gone. That would be terrible, so I need to stay. Mm-hmm. But Moiraine says that he won't wake up before we go. And she wants to leave ASAP. Like, as soon as they have rested, she wants to leave, basically at nightfall.
Yeah, so it's like morning time now, more or less.
Yeah.
Probably like getting closer to noon, and she wants to go buy a full day. So, sleep, pack, and...
Basically. Yeah. And packing is a relative word, because all of Rand's shit's destroyed at his house.
Yeah, packing, I mean, like, get
some food.
some
food.
food.
Yeah, so it dawns on Rand that Mat and Perrin need to be told, too.
Yeah.
And Moiraine says, leave that to me. But, like, hey, at least they get to go together.
Yeah, 3 best friends.
Yeah.
That's a fun adventure.
Oh, yeah. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
So Rand needs to keep this to himself for now, because people of Emmonsfield won't understand. Especially the ones who put the dragon fang on the door, and who are very wary of Moiraine and Lan, and have no idea why Trollocs just came and think it's all the Dark One's terribleness, and he knows that he can't just go around telling people that he's leaving.
Yeah,
to go to Tar Valon.
Moiraine tells him to be wary of the fact that whoever put the dragon fang on.
Oh yeah, Rand didn't think of that on his own.
Yeah.
In his pea-sized little brain right now.
Yeah.
Come on, Rand. But
so, who do you think drew the dragon's fang? Do you have any...
Yeah, probably a Copland or a Conger.
Copland and Conger?
Those guys are the worst.
Okay.
Maybe a Sembui.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sembui got mad at me on Twitter.
Yeah.
He said that he's not racist. He hates everyone.
Yeah.
So just clarify that. Clear it up. But, yeah, he hates everyone.
Yeah.
So maybe...
Could have been him.
Could have been. Probably somebody quite negative. Or maybe someone who's misguided in their theories and thoughts. And,
yeah. Okay. We'll come back to that.
Okay, sure. So Moiraine and Lan exit, and Rand is left to his own thoughts about leaving, but is quickly interrupted by the mayor and his wife bringing him some food.
Because he hasn't eaten in like a day and a half.
Yeah, oh my god. So Rand, in a very cautious and roundabout way, asks the mayor if he knows what the Trollocs were after.
Yeah, so he's like fact-checking right now.
Yeah, and the mayor is super confused, which is the theme of this chapter.
Yeah, no one knows what's going on.
Confusion. But, so he's confused by this and says, what do you mean they're after something? After? Like, what do you mean? They weren't after anything. They were just interested in killing us all.
Yeah.
Like, they just think it was a completely random attack. They ran in trying to kill everyone.
It's a very don't ask questions mentality.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So Rand sort of hesitates and wants to ask for some advice here, but Bran doesn't seem to know much more than anyone else, and so he thinks better of it. So yay, Rand! Thinking!
He's getting there.
But thinking is hard for him right now. You're right. He hasn't eaten. He hasn't slept. This is a very traumatic
traumatic
day.
time, yeah.
So the fact that he's thinking it all, we'll give you a gold star.
Cut him a little bit of slack there.
Yeah. But he also sort of doesn't want to get laughed at or not believed. And
yeah.
that's also been the theme of Rand.
It's the lack of confidence there.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, he's a kid, right? Yeah, at the heart of it. So.
Yeah. So he really wants to just talk to his dad here, but he knows he can't.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells the Elvirs that he's going to eat and rest in here with Tam and promises not to wake him up. So they leave, and he thinks about how he needs to stay awake in case his father wakes up, and then he falls asleep.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah. And that's the end of this chapter.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up, right? A little bit of a slow ending to the chapter, but a lot of content in the middle.
Content, that seems to be the theme of most of these chapters. If it's not just like action-packed, then it's just sort of content and setup. Yeah. So I'm hoping here for more. I actually haven't even looked what the next chapter is called.
So the next one's called Tellings of the Wheel.
Ooh. okay, okay.
A little bit of mystery in that.
That seems to be more information gathering. Sigh.
It might be. But on the plus side, we know that they're leaving.
Yeah,
they're leaving.
But is this like
Emmons
a
Field.
Beltane situation where I have to wait 10 more chapters for them to actually leave?
Maybe.
Oh my god, Brett. No.
Okay, they leave faster than 10 chapters, but it'll be good. The next chapter I'm really excited about.
Yeah, which bothers me, because when you're excited about a chapter, it's just pure, like, information dump, and it's not interesting.
Okay, but I promise the next chapter is good.
That's what you say about every chapter.
No, well, okay. So far.
Yeah, okay. Well, as we wind down this episode here, we have a new patron on Patreon that is able to add in a question, comment, or some insight on our live episodes here.
Yeah.
So we have Joe Lott, who has reached the tier where he is allowed to send us a question, and he has. So his question to us is, have you all considered moving to either releasing 2 episodes a week or covering 2 chapters per episode?
And this is a great question because we've actually talked about this.
At length.
Yes.
At length.
Yeah, we were talking because at the rate we were starting of 1 episode, 1 chapter per week, there's like over 50 chapters in the first book.
It's going to take us over a year.
Like a year for 1 book.
For 1 book.
We definitely want to speed that up.
Well, no, because by the time we're at 15 books, 15 years from now, podcasts are going to be obsolete. It's going to be a microchip in your brain.
Yeah, it'll be a different platform, different something. So, yeah, so we've definitely talked about this. We've discussed it. We have a couple ideas.
Yeah.
So just to kind of let everyone know what those ideas are.
Yep.
So the first thing we are doing currently is looking at having an episode that has multiple chapters. Maybe not every chapter because some chapters are a little bit longer.
Or long.
But we are going to definitely combine 2 chapters.
We've already done one of them. It was just... It's just about to be released as we speak.
Yeah, at this time it's just about to be released. So we've already done that. So we'll continue to do that on certain chapters that flow together really nicely.
Yep.
So I'll kind of have the, I guess, say in that.
Yeah, you'll have to look ahead and let me know which chapters go well together and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then we're also looking at stepping it up so we can do...
probably about 6 episodes a month.
Yeah, so like 3 every 2 weeks. So having like our regular Tuesday release and then throwing in a Friday release.
Every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, once we can speed up our editing process, that's the slowest thing. So
that's the slowest part for us right now is just finding time to record, edit, and release. And so that's been our hardest thing. As a teacher, school year's winding down. So hopefully we'll be able to get quite a bit of content
over the summer
completed over the summer, which means we can pump out more content to you guys.
Yes.
So that'll be great.
Yeah, so definitely have things in the works, and we will speed it up. So, yeah, look forward to that.
Yep. Thanks for the question, Joe.
Yeah, that was good.
So that about wraps up our episode of The Wheel Weaves. Thanks for this Wheel of Time therapy session, Brett.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Talking out all of this conversation, laying it out for me.
Yeah, and on to Tellings of the Wheel.
Ooh, I'm going to go read it right away.
All right.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Wheel Weaves. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to us and does actually make a really big difference. Tell your friends or anyone who might like us or anyone who's thinking of getting into the series who might want to follow along with us. You can find us on social media. There's more information on there and some fun pictures and tidbits on Instagram at The Wheel Weaves Podcast or on Twitter at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. If you'd like bonus content, exclusive insider looks, and to support us making great content, you can find us on patreon.com/thewheelweavespodcast. Thanks, as always, to audionautics.com for the music, and thanks to you, awesome listeners.